Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Ali Moreno, Craig Burley and Stevie Nicol. Gab Marcotti will be with us shortly as well. A little later on in the programme, we'll look at Spurs' victory against Borussia Dortmund, but we start at the Santiago Bernabeu. Ajax beating Real Madrid by 4-1. It could have been a lot more for that, in all truth be told. Ajax, so many chances. By far the superior side. Real Madrid, a mess from start to finish, to the defending champions out of the Champions League. And this, of course, a team that went into this match having won their last 3 Champions League tournaments. No side has ever done that in the history of the competition, but they are out at the round of 16 stage. It's the first time in 8 years that they haven't made it to the semi-finals. There's absolutely no question that Ajax deserve to go through here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I saw a competitive, to an extent, Ajax. I mean, they certainly were in the first leg, but I didn't see this against an experienced and, full strength, really, Real Madrid side. So, in fact, I would say it's one of the best performances I've seen at the Bernabeu for quite a while. And I know they were abysmal. Yeah. However, from Ajax's side, that was one of the best performances, and one of the best performances from an individual. And there was lots of them, but Tadic was a guy who, at the end, couldn't get in the Southampton side for whatever reason, and has just taken to that field like, you know, Messi's played a couple of games there recently and hasn't played his best. Tadic completely outshone what Messi has done the last couple of games. That's how good he was in this game tonight.
This is a massive shock, isn't it? Yes,
well,
yes.
The scoreline is.
Yes, listen, the way that Real Madrid have been playing all season, there's not a side that hasn't gone to the Bernabeu all year and not played well and looked as though they might actually win a game. Listen, in the context of the Champions League, Ajax winning 4-1 in Bernabeu is a shock, yes. But really, the way they've been playing, I mean, they're an absolute shambles. Yeah. You know, it suits. Ajax going forward are fantastic. They love to play an open attacking game. That's what they're great at. So Real Madrid just say, on you go, we're going to be as open as you like, and if you're on your game, then you might make some chances. My goodness, this could have been 8-1. I mean, the chances in the first half in particular. So, yes, in the context of the Champions League, it's a shock. But you know what? This has been coming for so long.
But the thing is, over the years, Real Madrid have been shocking in La Liga and played poorly and got it together for the Champions League. And you thought this time they didn't really surely have to get it together that much because they were 2-1 up going into this game.
That's when you had a team. What we saw out there today, that's not a team. It's just a bunch of guys running around. They're disconnected, they're disorganized. This was a comprehensive, thorough backside whooping, what they took at the Santiago Bernabeu. This was no accident. It's not like Ajax somehow put a couple of goals together and hung on. No. This was Ajax outplaying, destroying, and taking apart Real Madrid. And then what was even more surprising, because it's one thing Ajax showing up and say, okay, we're going to play, and we're going to match you up, and we're gonna play with intensity and with energy. But the fact that Real Madrid, there was none of that. No intensity, no energy, disconnected, stretch all over the place. People just kind of doing their own thing and not really having any sort of team performance or shape or plan or identity. Nothing. There was nothing about this Real Madrid team that said, you know what? If it gets difficult today, no worries, because we can respond. There was no response coming. They could still be playing out there, and there was no response coming. Real Madrid, embarrassing.
I don't know. I get the point that we've watched a lot of the La Liga games this year where bottom half of the Liga teams have gone there and some have won and some have come away with probably less than what they should have. But I don't think there's many have gone there, as Ali said, whooped their backside and then go and sit in the dressing room and think, boy, we should have got 7. We should have got 7. But I tell you what, this club and this president and some of these players have got arrogance written all over them. You got a president who is arrogant enough to go out and kibosh the Spanish national team's World Cup with the whole Lopetegui incidents. Now, he wasn't not to blame either, but it was all part of one big sham. Then you've got one of the 2 greatest players of the generation leaving, and he's replaced by who? Thibaut Courtois, a goalkeeper who has to come in when you've got a very, very good goalkeeper already there in Keylor Navas, and you've got holes to plug in other positions. And then you've got the captain who has got the arrogance to think that Ajax are just going to be, bosh, I'll take my yellow card and I'll move to the next game, albeit since he's nonsense and that was double arrogance, he would have been suspended anyway. But that's how arrogant they have become. No respect for national teams, for coaches, for players, for officials and for opposing teams. They just thought they could brainwash and whitewash everybody in front of them. And they got a big lesson tonight, I'm telling you.
Is it as simple as saying if Cristiano Ronaldo was still playing for Real Madrid, they'd be through?
No. I think unfortunately Santi Solari's got to carry a lot of the can as well. You know, we wondered about Zidane coming from the reserve team, but with all the big names, he managed to get them to actually play. He managed to get them to put that intensity in, particularly when they didn't have the ball.
Right.
Santi can't do that. I mean, Ali talked about the shape of the team. The back four was an absolute embarrassment. And you've got a World Cup winner in there in Varane, who you would expect, at least, to try and organise the guys beside him. And it's 4 experienced players.
Yeah.
Just a shambles. And I'm sorry, but for me, that's down to the manager. He has to, at the very least, get his team organised. He can't put the ball in the net, and he can't do anything when somebody just makes a bad mistake. But you have to be held accountable when your team is all over the place from start to finish.
Well, he doesn't have to worry about it for too much longer.
I know, but it's a shame, though, isn't it? Because he's a casualty of the shambles.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is that nobody survives this. Not Santi Solari. No, nobody survives this. I mean, he might as well just go into his office and start packing, because Real Madrid, there is nowhere else to go other than say, you know, thanks, but no thanks. And it's not just Santi Solari. This is a team and a club that has to do a complete overhaul. Yeah. They were hanging on with the idea that the core group of players that they had was going to be enough for them to compete. But what they looked like tonight was like a boxing world champion that is hanging on one too many fights. And today it came the knockout punch, and there was no coming back from it. Real Madrid, honestly, I thought after the Atletico Madrid game, I thought that there was going to be a different version of Real Madrid. This was ugly, and nothing about this tells you that this team is heading in the right direction.
This is like a scene from Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, you've got Lopetegui's gone, done for. You've got a guy, and we know Santi Solari, and we're not giving anything, you know, we're not giving anybody any favours here. He's going to have to go. Yeah. But he's taken a decision that he thought, I've got a chance here. He steps up from the Castilla, where he's probably got a job for years. He can't go back there now. You've got Gareth Bale, who's absolutely broken. You've got Isco, who's not even in the squad half the time. And you've got Marcelo, he's gone as well. Yeah. I mean, it's a bloodbath.
But it's interesting, one name he did mention, and we've been critical of Gareth Bale and not having much form. Luka Modric is a Ballon d'Or winner.
Mm-hmm. He's the best player in the world, right?
Supposedly. You wouldn't have thought that. In fact, that this whole season.
It tells you all those voting.
But today kind of epitomised.
And again, you know, if the games are played on paper, then it's a different story. But, I mean, Casemiro, Kroos and Modric, that's a great middle three, isn't it?
It's the middle three that's won the Champions League.
Yes, on paper. But when they don't work and when they don't make good decisions, there's nothing else around them. So why... The forward line can't bail them out. Because the forward line, in my opinion, is atrocious. Benzema should not be playing at Real Madrid. Vinicius is 18, as I said, and you got Vasquez. I mean, seriously. Are they going to bail you out when you make mistakes? And not only are they making mistakes at the back, they're atrocious. They could be losing 3 and 4 games at home every single time they step on the field. That's not acceptable. So, front, middle and back are absolutely awful. And Courtois has not made a save all year since he got there.
You mentioned it, Casemiro, Kroos, Modric. Experience. I mean, yeah. They've done everything in the game pretty much. Why does this happen? Why are they not performing at a level that you would expect them to be?
I don't know about the exact numbers, but I know I'm not bailing him out here, but Modric has played a heck of a lot of football. Right. And it does look as if to me, because he's not become a bad player overnight. Look, I don't think he was the best player in the world. I just think that was, some numpties going down a voting system. Yeah. But he has played a lot of football, a bit like Rakitic, Barcelona. That Croatian side played a lot. they just don't look as if they can get around the field anymore. It's way too easy in midfield. Ajax with some good young players in there, popping it around, Tadic dropping in the hole. When defenders don't come out to squeeze in and close that space down, teams are just popping it around them. And Chris and Modric can pass the ball for fun, but they're not getting around the field anymore. And there's only one way out of this for Real Madrid, and that's spend. Yeah. I know we're going to talk about Tottenham in a bit, but, you know, Harry Kane, that's the kind of player, right? They're going to have to start going after, getting rid of the Benzemas, getting rid of the Bales, getting rid of all these guys that are deemed not good enough for this team anymore, and they're going to have to go to Europe and the rest of the world, South America, and spend big on players like Harry Kane and other positions to get themselves back up.
To your point about that midfield and Casemiro and Kroos and Modric, and we just touched on Modric, right? The point of Toni Kroos, there were sequences today in which he dribbled the ball straight out of bounds. Yeah. A guy who's as clean as a ball as you would want anybody to be in the world. So then there is some personal responsibility there, but clearly there's a level of confidence that is gone. And it's very easy to lack that confidence when you know that you haven't been able to dominate teams in the midfield as you have in the past. Casemiro in particular, a guy that depends on intensity, on tackling, physicality. Today, Dusan Tadic is doing spinoramas around him, and Casemiro's not even moving. So, again, maybe he's tired. Maybe we can give him that bailout. I'm not.
Right.
There is a point of competing here that did not happen from Real Madrid's perspective. At some point, when we've seen Casemiro at his best, somebody's doing spinoramas, he's at the very least taking a yellow card for it. That wasn't even happening today. They weren't even close to Ajax. Ajax seemed like they were playing with 20 people on the field, and Real Madrid was playing with 5. That's how mismatched this game was. It was all Ajax all the time. Real Madrid.
Hey, at least Toni Kroos never got bumped by Germany today.
Well, that's
like Müller, Hummels, and Boateng. So I mean, it's a good night for him. I tell you what, that Tadic performance was like the James Rodriguez performance at the World Cup for Colombia, where Real Madrid just went, how much? Yeah. I mean, I'm not suggesting he's going to Real Madrid, but he was a player that said, look at me, look at me, I can play on the big stage.
It was PlayStation. Remember, it's a team game, by the way. You know, When you're playing as a centre back, you're always talking to the guy sat in front of you in the centre of the midfield, right? And he's always talking to you. If Tadic gets in behind the central midfield guy, the centre back's going to have a go at him for letting him do it, and vice versa. Right. So you have to play together, and you've got 2 centre backs today who were nowhere near anybody. No. So Casemiro doesn't know whether to step up or step back. You know, you've got 2 occasions. Modric with a goal. He's behind the centre-backs. And then you've got Casemiro, who's having to make challenges as well. He's behind the centre-backs as well. So they can't do everything.
This is what happens when Sergio Ramos doesn't play, Stephen.
Well, if only there was somebody that could have controlled that. Oh, wait.
All right, let's welcome Gab Marcotti to the show. Gab, as we go to air, Santi Solari is still in charge of Real Madrid. He's a dead man walking, though, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, look, the rational thing to do would be to, if you can, you keep Santi Solari until the summer, and you give yourself time to take a run at the manager who you think is right for next season. But we've seen Real Madrid not be rational. You know, what you guys were pointing out before about how this is a team that's getting older, it's not as if Real Madrid didn't realize this. That was their whole thing when they appointed Lopetegui. And, you know, they felt that they had Asensio and Isco and you know, then Ceballos and whatever else. And they brought in Vinicius, and they thought they could manage that transition. The problem is, A, they couldn't manage the transition, and B, they moved away from it. Florentino Perez, if he was sitting next to you guys, he would tell you, and he were honest, he would tell you, look, I genuinely believed that Karim Benzema, you know, without Cristiano, could be a 30-goal-a-season scorer. I genuinely believe that Gareth Bale would live up to his price tag and his enormous wages as soon as Cristiano left, and he could be that kind of player. Instead, it hasn't worked out that way, and I think you guys rightly said, some of the blame goes on the players, some of the blame goes on Santi Solari, some of the blame simply goes on what's been a team that, you know, for the last 4 or 5 years really hasn't renewed itself, or when they tried to renew themselves, they went down a road and then quickly abandoned the project for whatever reason. And what you have now is a gigantic tire fire.
Is Jose Mourinho the man to put that out?
Oh, I don't think so. Of course, it's very quick to go out and say, well, if you get called a second time, it means that they really want you. I mean, look, if Jose Mourinho comes back, it really is his last roll of the dice, I think, at a big club. If he comes back, he's going to want guarantees in terms of spending. I think he might want some guarantees in terms of personnel. I don't know how happy Sergio Ramos would be, who still wields a ton of influence there at the club, to see Mourinho rock up. That's what they need to decide. Do they want to go back to that type of manager where you will spend money, you will generally be reactive, and it's a question of whether, he can regain his mojo, and he won the Premier League not that long ago, or whether they try to be more progressive. But I think the issues run far deeper, and they go right to Florentino Perez and really some of the decisions that were made at director of football level, or more likely not made at director of football level, but made directly by Florentino himself.
A lot more on this game on Extra Time. Lots of questions about Real Madrid and their future. Be sure to check it out. Tottenham are through to the next round of the Champions